Welcome to Midlife Mix.
Am I your first Canadian podcast?
Oh my God. And they say you always remember your first.
Both things can be true. He's cheating on you. He's busting up your barber shop. Welcome, Litsa, to Midlife Mix.
Hi.
I invited you because you have a story that I think is inspiring for a lot of women midlife. And that is, starting over in your 40s.
Yeah, true.
So I want to start with talking about your marriage. Mm-hmm. So you were with your husband for 20 years.
Married 18, together 20. Yeah.
Okay. So bring me back to the beginning. How was it exciting at first? Why did you fall in love with him in the first place?
Well, he was my first boyfriend. And I was always the person that was just friends with everybody. All my friends had boyfriends. I never had a boyfriend. So I was always the friend that I would be tagging along. So when I met my ex, which was on vacation, he was a very good looking guy and all the girls liked him, but he liked me. So I was like, this is amazing. And so really I went for him because of his looks. It's the truth at the time, because I didn't think that I could get anyone better than that. Little did I know that looks doesn't equate to personality of somebody, of how they treat you at the time. So unfortunately, it was a thrill because we met on vacation. He was from a different country. It was the back and forth. It was like the parents didn't approve because I'm Greek. So it's very typical of like, you get somebody that's Greek, you live with them, marry them, that's all that stuff. I went the complete opposite. So it felt like, like you're going against the grain kind of situation, right? And then, I felt like once I got into the relationship, I didn't know how to get out of it. So what I did instead was just get married.
Oh, okay.
Which is not the thing.
So you doubled down.
Double down.
You doubled down and married him.
Yeah. It's the actual truth. Now that I look back at it, when you obviously you have to go through experiences to then look back and be like, oh, I could have done this differently. Or listen, I wouldn't change anything because I have my kids, the things that I've been through, businesses, whatever. Living in a different country because I moved obviously to the UK. But yeah, when I look back, there were so many signs for me to freaking run. I just didn't have the balls to do it, really.
So throughout your marriage, you had addiction problems?
Not at the very beginning, because I was very naive to it. Again, being my first boyfriend, I wasn't open to that kind of world. So maybe he did and I just didn't see it.
Yeah. So when did you discover that addiction was going to play a part in your marriage?
So obviously we lived in the UK, got married here, had our, moved back, and we got the business, the Barber Shop, the first one. It was, I'm going to say probably 2006. So like the first year of him being in Canada, I noticed the start of the addiction in the sense of when we'd go to a party, he would do it. And I didn't know that he was doing it. I just found him to be very loving. More loving than normal. He'd be like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm with you and I love you so much. And I thought, oh, he's not as mean as he always usually is to me. A little did I know that he just did a bump in the bathroom like a half hour before that and it put him in a good mood. So when he was doing it at the beginning, I think even for himself, it just made him feel good, right? But then once you're addicted, the feeling good goes, but you're still addicted and you still keep going. So I would say, and he would do it recreationally when we lived in the UK, here and there, but with all of his friends, because everybody was, partying, having a good time. We were like, mid-20s. So 2024, like what? 3-4 years into the marriage?
So before you had kids?
No, James was born. It was right after James, like about a year after, but it was here. It was in Canada that I noticed him getting more. He met somebody, he met a few people, clients from the shop, of course, conversations. Can't say names, can we?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
My douchebag of an ex, we'll call him that. He is and always will be a follower. He was always a follower. He's never been a leader. He can never say no to anyone. If anyone ever offered him anything, he would say, "Yep, I'll take it. I'll do it." That was his issue, and then it just kind of snowballed, right? And addiction got worse.
So you have a young baby at home.
Yeah.
And your husband is recreationally or not doing cocaine. Yeah, was that the...
That was the drug of choice.
Drug of choice. Okay. So what was the dynamic like at home? Like what was it like?
I didn't actually, to be fair, I didn't clock it as bad with James. I clocked it 1,000 times worth with Irini when my second child came aboard. He was still, functioning. He was okay when I had James. We would fight. He'd say, I'm not going to do it anymore. So he wasn't doing it. It was more recreational. Let's put it that way. And then when it became a real addiction, like really badly, was Irini. Like when I was pregnant with my second, I mean, he didn't even come to the birth because he was high. So I gave birth to my kid and he wasn't there. And even when he came to see her, I'll never forget that. He came in, he looked at her, and he just walked out. He didn't say congratulations to me. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her and walked out. And that was it.
That's so surprising. To hear. That's shocking to hear.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking at that point? Like you've just had a baby and having a baby is traumatic. Like it's traumatic on your body.
Yeah.
Your hormones are all over the place. Your head is all over the place. So your husband, supposed to be your partner in life, comes into the hospital, looks at your newborn baby and turns around and leaves. And you are thinking what?
At that time, I didn't think anything, but obviously the memory stuck with me. But the next day when I left the hospital to take her home, because she was born right before Christmas, all my family was at my house on the 24th. And do you know that I couldn't get a hold of him? I kept calling him, saying, hey, going home with the baby. My sister-in-law came to pick us up. Are you going to come home? He showed up high. Like he showed up hours later with my whole family. I mean, my family knew he was on drugs. We all tried to help him. We all tried to get him clean. And nothing worked. And I was like, I don't want him here. I always said that I didn't want him here anymore. I would say, leave. If you don't want to be here, leave. I'm not keeping you here. But again, I just had another baby. My son was like 5. I didn't know what else to do. Like I hated him, but I also didn't know how I could live life without him and be on my own. I didn't know how to do that. So I was scared, even though I was on my own my entire marriage. Really, right? So yeah, it was, unfortunately for her, the memories with her aren't great, like of the pregnancy, of the birth, at the beginning of, like, I thought maybe after having her, he would change. But if he didn't change, like in his personality with James, how is he going to change? By the time my second came, he was too far gone. He was too far gone to make any changes. He didn't care that he had a little girl. He didn't care that it was another child or his son. Like my son would call him 5 years old, 6 years old and say, can you come home? He's like, yeah, I'm coming home. And he never would. He'd start to drive. That's what he would tell me. I would start to drive. And instead of coming home, I'd make a left and go get a hit instead of coming home, right? So yeah, it wasn't a great experience, like my pregnancy and delivery of my partner with me, but it still was, I still made sure that it was a great experience for me and for my child coming into this world, 100%. But no, he was too far gone by the time Irini came around.
You come from a pretty tight-knit family.
Yeah.
So were they not directing you to leave at this point?
Parents, no.
Really?
Yeah. Parents wanted get him help. And, my mother's very old school, and it became, well, you always say no, and you always fight him. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Be happy? Like, I kept leaving. I kept going to my mom's house. He didn't care, and he'd be like, you'll be back. And he'd be right. I would come back after a few days because who the hell wants to go back and live with their parents, even though I'm doing it now? It's a different story. My family just supported whatever I wanted. Let's put it that way. If I said I want him out, they'd be okay. If I said he can stay, they'd be okay. He wouldn't leave. That was more the problem. Did I tell him to leave all the freaking time? He wouldn't leave. Because he'd be like, I'll be better. Don't worry. I'll be better. Don't worry. I'll be better. That's what he would say. I'm like, just take your shit and go. Go back to England. I'll figure it out. So did they want me with him? Maybe not. Did they feel sorry for him? 100%. Because he was an addict. So they were like, he's not a bad guy. I mean, like, nobody said he was a bad guy. But he's not the one for me. And my kids didn't. My kids wanted him, right? When they got a little bit older and could understand. Mm-hmm. That was the other issue.
The other issue was not only drugs.
Oh, the women?
Women.
Oh, yeah, there were loads of women.
Because
in our
he
marriage.
was like a serial cheater.
Yeah, so he had a full-on relationship when I was pregnant with James. I did not know that. I was here because I left after 3 months. I think that's what put me into labor, actually, because I found the messages. And same thing again, sorry, make it work, blah, 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 this and that. And he wasn't even an addict then. That's the thing. So you can't blame it even on the addiction. Serial texter, serial messenger, clients from the shop, of the barber shop that we had, the first one, while I was there sleeping. It's fantastic for me. But yeah, there was a constant. What I realized with Nigel is this, and I realized this after I left this time. Like in the marriage, I would always leave, right? I would always kick him out, or I'd send him back to the UK. And I would say, oh, he's going to realize like what he's lost. But he would just find a replacement for me. And I'd be like, what the hell? So then I would run back. Because I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm here. I just was hoping that you would see that. And then I finally realized the last time that I left, I was like, he's never loved me. That's the truth. And I'm not hurt by it. I'm like, oh, shocked. No, he doesn't know how to love. He doesn't know how to be in love with somebody. He needs somebody to take care of him. That's just how he operates. I just stayed the longest out of everybody else. Because he's never dumped anyone. They've always dumped him. I don't know, sorry. Yes, that's the way I want to say it. Yeah. Because he'll keep you and he'll still go do whatever the hell he wants. What is it to him? Right? So, yeah, I don't think he ever loved me. I just think he kept me there because I didn't leave. And we just ended up having the biggest chunk of his life and my life together, right? I don't hold any grudges against him. I mean, I don't like him as a person. But yeah, it's choices that I made too, right?
Do you know how many women he was with?
Oh God, no. I know there's a lot more than I've been told. I can tell you now my barbers probably know a lot more than I know. 1,000%. Because he would blatantly just talk about it on the shop floor. That even, my poor nephew, when Nigel came back for like the third time from the UK, left. And he's like, I'm not staying here because I don't want to hear what he says anymore on the floor. And I don't blame him. At the time, it bothered me that he left. But I understood why he did it. I'm his aunt. He loved me. He didn't want to see me hurt. But over 5 or 6, if not more, that I know of. I mean, don't forget, I left pregnant with James. I was gone for about 6 months. So who knows what he did before he got his girlfriend, right? And all the times he'd been out here and he's gone to Vegas, and there was tons. For sure, there was tons. What he did with all of them, I don't know. I think it varies, right? Some was just texting. Others were sex, I'm sure. Others were just fondling, whatever. So there's a variety of them. For sure. I mean, he wasn't a bad-looking guy then at all. That's what he was known for, was his looks, right? And he had the British accent, and tattooed arms, so he got away with it.
So, yeah, I think it's important to say that you were partners in life, but you were also partners in business. Like, I know we didn't preface this, but you owned Barber Shop together. He was a barber. Yeah. And, that sort of almost turned into a place where he could cheat on you.
Oh, that was his playground. The Barber Shop was his playground.
So how did you deal with that, knowing he was with other women and then he comes home to you and the kids? And what do you
I didn't have the evidence then, right? Don't forget, at the time. So my bigger thing was the drugs, because it was our money. He turned that first shop into like a bordello. Like, it was just the dealers and who knows what women he brought in there and whatever he did. But as a barber, he was an amazing barber, and everybody knew that. Like, the problem with him is he got too popular too quick, right? At the best time to bring in a barber shop of that kind of stature from the UK over to Toronto, because they weren't really well known like that. Like, that business, like, was known. He was known. He's still known to this day, that people are like, oh, you're Nigel Sachs. I'm like, really? Like, how does that sound like a fucking accomplishment? And some, like, I hate when people say it to me, but people still to this day, oh, I didn't know that it was you. I'm like, no, don't care, right? But he just cut hair. I always did everything from behind the scenes. I had to. I came into the shop when I was pregnant, or just after I had Edini, because he was spending all the money. That's when it clocked. When you were asking me that question, it clocked. Like when Edini was like 6-7 months old, that we had to kick him out of the shop for a little bit because money was missing, like, big time. Even the barbers weren't getting paid. Like, it was bad. It was really, really bad. But he treated that, like, I hate that location. And when I closed it, it was the best feeling in the world. And when I got my second, when we were still together, I remember, I'll never forget, like, the landlord gave me a tour of the place, and he's like, there's a basement. And the minute I saw the basement, I was like, fuck. And I think my mom was with me. She's like, why? I'm like, because now he's got a basement to fuck around in. Do you understand? I said, the other shop is so small. Where's he going? Like, it literally was smaller than, the studio. I go, now he's got a basement to do whatever the hell he wants. Unless I put a damn camera, which I am not doing because I don't need to see this shit. I go, this is not good. And lo and behold, whenever he was at the other location on Gerard, did he do shit in the basement? 100%. Because we had a bar next door, this, that. So Yeah, it was his playground. Having a barbershop was his domain. Like he treated, I don't even want to know if those walls could talk in Donlands. I don't even want to know. It would be like X-rated for sure. It just amplified his addiction more. Let's put it that way.
Tell me about the time he went into your Donlands location with a bat, or he took a bat and
It smashed everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was because, so Nigel, the problem with Nigel is whenever Nigel got really high, he would automatically think I was cheating on him and that I was cheating on him with people from Mexico. Don't ask. Don't ask. But it was a very weird obsession he would have and he would go nuts. So I think it was, I either kicked him out, said, you got to go, whatever. He went in, he smashed the phone, he smashed the computer, he hit the TV. Not as much. Let's remember one thing about Nigel. He may act tough. He's a big ass pussy. Okay. That is the fucking truth. I could kick his ass if I really wanted to, but maybe not as badly. But do you know what I'm saying? Like he's all talk. He thinks he looks probably more tougher than what the hell he really is, to be fair. But he did that loads of times. He smashed up things in my house. He smashed up the car. He smashed the windshield. He smashed up Donlands many times whenever he'd get really high and paranoid and angry. It was a norm, but it was embarrassing. Like all the barbers knew. They always knew that he was high. Clients would call in and be like, how is he today? Can I come for my haircut? Because even though they were like taking that chance, because sometimes he just wouldn't go to work. He hadn't slept for 2 days, right? He'd be up on a binge, just sitting on the veranda, like days you couldn't even speak to him, pissing himself. Do you understand me? Like that's where we're at here. Let's just be open. But people didn't care. They wanted their haircut by him. But who fixed everything? It was always me. Nigel always landed on his feet. Always landed on his feet. Because I was always the one that was catching him on everything that he did.
So what was the breaking point? Like, you've gone through, he's pissing himself, he's cheating on you, he's busting up your barbershop, he's a cokehead, he's not a dad. And when you stayed for a very long time.
I stayed for a very long time.
Not only did you stay for a very long time, you moved from Canada to UK to be with him.
Yes. And people thought I was nuts. And I'm telling you, when I did that, it was because I had very low self-esteem of myself. And I was scared of what exactly was going to happen, that I didn't want it to happen, which was if I left him for good, he would for sure get someone else and I would be on my own. And I was scared of that. I don't know why I was, because I was 45 at the time. And I remember saying to myself, living in the UK, I remember saying to myself, you know what? I'm 45. This is my bed. I'm just going to lie in it. This is my life. If this is what it is, this is what it is. Because I did, for a dumbass moment, think that living in the UK, he'd be different. Because he would always say that, right? It's Canada. It's Canada. It's Toronto. I hate Toronto. I hate Toronto. In the UK, I don't do drugs. I don't do this. Fucking for real, he did drugs. Of course he did drugs. Maybe not as much. I'll give him that. That's the only point I'll give him. He didn't do as much as he did here. Because he didn't have, I think, able to get as much here. But he definitely did drugs, and he definitely spoke to people. I probably didn't cheat because I was living with him there. But that was the breaking point. And actually, the bigger breaking point was my boss. Like, I had a job here. I put it on hold. And he came back to me and goes, you've got 6 months. And after those 6 months, he goes, you either got to give up your job or you got to come back. You got to choose. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm closer to retirement than I am the other way. This man has no money. This man's supposed to be supporting us. He's going to drop off a heart attack on me one of these days because of how much drugs he's still doing. What am I going to do then? So I remember having that conversation with him. And actually, this is more of the breaking point. So it's very much of a soap opera. So I'm sitting there with him. I said, look, it's not working. We fight all the time. I think I should just go back. I've got the shop. I've got to go back to work, all this stuff. And I said, money is a big thing for me. He's like, so what? You think that money's more important than love? And I said, yeah. In this situation, yes. He blatantly admitted he had a girlfriend prior to me moving to the UK, that they were pretty serious. And I think that's what scared me and made me go there. And I was looking to possibly sell the shops. I was going to come into a lot of money if I was to sell them. This was before COVID happened. The idea was mulling around. Me, like an idiot, told him about it. He tried to pursue me then, but he was pursuing me for money. And I didn't know at the time. And he blatantly said to me, he's like, I had it planned with my girlfriend at the time that, you know, whenever you sold Donlands, I would get my share because I was an idiot thinking, oh, you deserve it because, you know, you put so much time into that shop. And he goes, and then I was going to drop your ass. I remember looking at him and I thought, you fucking cunt. I spent 20 years with you. I've wiped your vomit, cleaned your fucking soiled clothes, paid off dealers, chased you around, went with my friend because you went missing for 24 hours to the police station. And you, with your fucking 20-something-year-old girlfriend, and no offense to 20-something-year-olds, this is what she was, were going to scam me out of money. And then you were just, so that was my breaking point. And I thought, fuck you, I'm out because you will never have my back. You will never have my back, ever. So why am I staying with you if you're never going to have my back like I've had yours 1,000 times over, even though you screwed me over? But did I tell him at the time that I was leaving for good? No. I had to play it like I was coming back just to get out.
So you're on the plane with the kids. You do up the seatbelt.
It was the best feeling
What
ever.
are you feeling?
Girl, you have no idea. He made my life a living hell before I left because he clocked on something was wrong. I mean, I was packing up everything. I was packing up my dog. I was like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll be back in a year. I mean, well, all my shit was getting packed. So he made my life a living hell for the week leading up to me going. And the minute, I'm not kidding you, I went through those gates, not even on the plane, through the gates, I breathed the biggest sigh of relief. And it was the first time that I felt me. I knew I was never going to go back. I knew I was never going to think of him the same way because we broke up so many times, Nigel and I. So many times in the marriage, constantly back, forth. So I just knew at that moment I was done. I was like, this. I'm so happy. I will never see this person ever again. I know that sounds horrible to say, but I didn't give a shit.
Nope, doesn't sound bad.
No.
I support that.
Yeah, that's good.
So what do you want your kids to learn from that whole situation? So,
Well, that's why I left. Because if I stayed, what am I teaching my daughter? To have a man mentally abuse you every day, to talk to you like you're a piece of shit, to tell you that you're not worth living, to tell you that no one's ever going to want. That was the thing. He's like, no one's ever going to want a 40-something-year-old woman with kids. They're just going to bang you and they're going to leave you. No one's going to fucking want to be with you. No one's going to want. That's what he always would tell me. And because I would listen to him, I thought, okay, well, he's probably right. I'm just going to stay. So I didn't want, and he didn't care if the kids were in front of me or not. Like if he wanted to fight with me, he fought with me. Didn't matter. He wouldn't do it behind closed doors. He wouldn't do it. If Nigel was in a bad mood, he had to make you in a bad mood. He had to make you cry. He had to make you feel like shit for no reason. So I don't want my daughter to think that's okay for a man to ever speak to her. And I will never put up with that. If I hear from anyone telling me about their boyfriends, oh, he said this to me, I just always say, either if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you, or else I don't want to hear it. Because it's a fucking huge trigger for me. I don't want to know. If you allow somebody to speak to you once like that, they're always going to speak to you like that. I don't care who they are. It is what it is. And that works for both, male or female. With James, I don't want him to ever treat somebody like that. And that was my biggest fear because he started to treat me a little bit like that. For example, when we first moved back, he wanted something done. I did it for him. He didn't like the way that I did it. And my phone blew up. Like he was messaging me. And that was his dad's behavior. He didn't do anything. He got me to do everything, but I never did it to be perfect the way he wanted. And then you're useless. You're this. How did you fuck this up? And I would ignore him and he would just message. And so James did that. And I just pulled him aside. I said, you ever do that to me again, we're going to have a big problem. You will never, ever speak to me like that. A, I'm your mother. And I said, and B, I've been treated like that before. And that's a trait that I do not appreciate. So you're going to drop it now. Because my own son would say to me, you're a doormat. He would tell me, he goes, you're his assistant. This is when he was younger, like 12, 13. What are you doing, Mom? That, fortunately, he's got no relationship with his father because of how he treated me and treated, in his opinion, him and his sister. More him than his sister, I would say. So I want them to know that they've got a strong mom. I want them to know that, yeah, I make mistakes too. And I don't have to explain myself because you know how some kids will be like, well, you did this. And yeah, so I fucking did. And your point is what? What is your point? I hate that shit when they try to throw it back. That doesn't make your life how your life is going to be. You're in control of your life as you get older, as a child and all of us, right? So I just want them to know that you don't stay for people like that. You keep it moving, you pick yourself up, and you keep going, right? But I do see some of those kind of traits in my kids, and I feel that that's a problem of mine because I stayed for as long as I did. So they saw that behavior, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to break that now with them.
All right, well, let's talk about now. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
All right.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Let's talk about the rebuild of your life. What's your focus now? You're 2 years out of this thing. Almost
I
3
know,
years out
my
of this
God.
thing. You're
Can you believe
officially
it?
divorced.
Officially divorced. That was the best day ever in December 18th.
What are we
December
focusing
18th.
on now?
So focusing on, well, listen, I have a job. That's my security, right? That's my pension. That's my stuff. We're not talking about that shit. That's on the side. I love that I jumped back into learning more and exploring more about the beauty business. That is my fucking passion. I love it. I love that I was able to combine that with the barbershop because I don't cut hair, you know? So I love that I could bring them together, utilize the space of the basement. I just want to make that business like the best in East York, in Leaside, in Leslieville. Like I want to be the number one spray tan artist. I love it. I always want to learn. I'm always going to classes. I'm always reading up on stuff. It's like, I'm telling you, where my mindset at one point was like, I'm 45, my life is fucking done. There is nothing else to it. I'm going to stay with this useless waste of a man and just live my life out. To now being 48, in my opinion, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. That's 20s, that's 30s. I hated myself in my 20s and my 30s. I was super insecure as I am right now. What a fucking difference. I love, look, do I have good days and bad days? 100%. Do I get hit with shit all the time? We all do, right? But I'm loving this part of my life. Like, am I a bit scared about that fact I'm really close to 50? I am, of the number. But I don't feel 48. I don't know. I mentally, sure as fuck, I'm not 48. But I love all the things that I get to do now at this stage of my life without giving a fuck because of what I've been through, if that makes any sense. So I am a firm believer that at any age, you can do whatever you want. That is the truth. You want to fucking go out and party, go out and party. Who gives a shit that you're in your 40s? What's somebody going to say? We're all going to get to 40. We're all going to get to 50 if we're blessed and lucky to. So whenever some young person's like, you're old. What the fuck? You're not going to get old? You're not going to get old? At least when I get older and I'm at that stage, I can look back and say I did whatever I wanted to fucking do in my life, right? So I'm loving from 45 to now so far is probably, no word of a lie, the best years of my life. Not the 20s when I was single because I was super insecure about myself. Not the 30s when I was married with 2 small children, navigating that part of life. Because again, I was really insecure of myself and now I had kids on top of that. So that made it worse. Now in my mid 40s, it's, well, closer to late 40s. It's like, okay, my kids are older. I can do a lot more things on my own. And thankfully I had my parents and now I have my mom to help me still, because to build a business, I know even with the barbershop, you have to put so much time and effort into it, which means you're always there to start off with, right? But saying that as well, because I've been doing it, like I trained in 2020, saying that as well, I will never put my work before family ever again in my life. That will never happen. So I'm trying to change that now to enjoy life more and not work as hard.
What's the most joyful thing in your life right now post-divorce? What do you get the most joy from now?
My freedom. It's my freedom. It's not that I ever had to answer to somebody as much, but it's my freedom. It's doing what I want, when I want, how I want. That is the most joy for me. And working out with you, Rachel. That is another joy. It's being my own boss. It's being everything that I don't have to count for anyone. You know, that once that divorce paper was done, that I am who I am again. I'm not some Nigel's wife, and I never fucking will be anyone's wife again. No, I'll be me. So it's my freedom for me.
If you could text your younger self and say anything, warn her, give her a piece of advice about how to navigate life post-divorce or even pre-divorce, what would you tell her?
To love herself. That was the number one. That's why I faulted in everything, is to love myself. I didn't think I was good enough for anything. That's the truth. It would be to love yourself. Be happy with who you are. Whatever you're going through, whatever bullshit that is, I'm learning that now, right? It's to love yourself.
So the next phase of your life, what do you want?
I want to continue the way that I am now. I want to be happy, whether that's finding somebody or not. I won't settle, right? I don't have anyone now, which is fine. But I mean, do I get lonely? Of course I get lonely. Like, you know, I'm at that stage in my life and I'm trying to explain to people, like, oh, you should find, I'm like, how do you want me to find somebody? All my friends are married or with someone. I might have a couple of single people. That is about it at my stage in life, right? So unless I'm going out with a bunch of younger people, it's very difficult, right? So how I'm gonna find them, I have no clue. But other than that, all I want in this stage of life is to build my beauty business a lot more than what it's at. So that's really thriving. And to go on loads of trips, that's all I care about. One day get back into my house, fix that up, and enjoy, life with my kids. And if there's a partner in there, great. If there's not, okay, same thing, right? I'll never settle ever again. That's for sure. But the next stage of life is just to continue on the path that I'm going and be happy with myself and enjoy the people that I have around me. Because we all now in our late 40s or mid to late 40s are starting that phase of watching the people that we love that are older than us starting to pass away, right? So I think at this stage, it sets off like a light bulb to say, hey, you're entering that next phase where there's going to be a lot more fun times, but funerals as well, right? It's that combination. So don't take life for granted. Enjoy every minute of it and not give a fuck about what anyone thinks. 100%.
Amen.
Amen, girl.
Thank you, Litsa, for coming on Midlife Mix. If you want to check out Litsa's business, go follow her. Glow with the Flow.
Yes, please book in
Spray
your glow.
tans, facials, all things beauty.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.